All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to do a little bit of extra problem-solving practice for Module 4. This is going to be most helpful for the end of Module 4, around Lesson 33. So go ahead and label this with your name and your number, Module 4, and again, just 4B extra practice. I'm going to give you a word problem. We're going to write it down together. So if you need to pause the video to copy it, you can. I'll try to shorten it so we're not writing the entire thing. This problem says Miss Geronimo, like that. Miss Geronimo has $10 to spend. She's got $10 to spend. If she buys one slice of pie, delicious, delicious pie, one slice of pie for $2.20 and uses the rest for cookies, she's shopping at her local bakery. If she spends $2.20 on pie and uses the rest for cookies that cost 60 cents each, so 60 hundredths of a dollar, 60 cents. If she uses the rest for cookies that cost 60 cents each, how many cookies can she buy? How many cookies can she buy? Okay. Now, when we're solving problems, it usually helps to start by looking at what we have, or in this case, what Ms. Geronimo has, and then looking at what we're doing to change that. Are we adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing? What are we doing with what we start with? So Ms. Geronimo has $10. Well, that kind of tells us right there what we're starting with. Okay, $10. If she buys one slice of pie for $2.20 and then uses the rest for the, I'm going to pause for a second. She's got 10 to start with. She buys one slice of pie for $2.20. So that gives me a pretty good idea what I need to start with. I'm going to take the $10 and I am going to remove, I'm going to take out the $2.20 that she pays for the pie. So I am going to subtract it. Now, if I'm subtracting 10 minus $2.20, I want to write it vertically. I want to write it up and down. But I need to be careful to line up the decimal points. Now, this may not seem to have a decimal, but we know there's an invisible decimal after every whole number, as well as some invisible zeros. So I can write $10 just like that, and it will make it a little easier to line up $2.20 underneath it. 0 minus 0 is 0. 0 minus 2, be careful, because a lot of people will say it's 2, and that's not correct when we subtract, unfortunately. This 0, there's nothing. So the 0 says, hey, can I borrow from you? And the other 0 says, I would, but I got nothing. So let me borrow from my neighbor. So this 0 borrows from the 1 and basically just becomes 10. So we don't have to really rewrite anything. 10 minus 2. We'll get to that in a second. Now that it's 10, this 0 is like, hey, don't forget about me. So now our 10 has become 9 because this wants to be 10. Okay. 10 tenths we know would be 1 whole, so it's like taking $1 and saying I got 10 dimes. 10 dimes minus 2 dimes would be 8. Now I get to subtract 9 minus 2 is 7. Okay, so we know how much money Miss Geronimo has left after she buys the slice of pie. She is going to take the rest. She is going to take this, and she's going to spend it on cookies, which, seems like a reasonable, responsible thing to do. The question is, how many cookies can she buy? Well, if each cookie is 60 cents, then I'm going to take the $7.80 and I am going to divide it. I'm going to split it up into basically piles of 60 cents. How many groups of 60 cents can I make? That'll tell me how many cookies I can get. Or, again, Miss Geronimo, I don't get cookies. 7 80 hundredths, $7.80, divided by 60 thousandths. I think I said hundredths over here. Pardon, let's read that again. 7 80 hundredths divided by 60 hundredths. I get a little tongue-tied sometimes. All this talk about hundredths, Mr. Landre getting confused, it's no good. We don't want to do that. So, because I know division is really just a different way of writing fractions, I am going to turn this into a fraction. And that is really tiny, so I'm going to go ahead and rewrite it. It also gives me an excuse to draw an arrow, which we know I love. Here's my $7.80 divided by 60 cents. Now, if that is the same as that, why do I do that? Why bother rewriting it? Well, I'm going to rewrite it because I can use what I know about equivalent fractions to rewrite this as two numbers that don't have decimals anymore. Now, when I look at this, if I multiply by 10, that'll make it go over one spot. If I multiply by 100, that'll make it go over two spots. I have two decimal digits. I have two digits after the decimal, so I want the decimal to go two places. 1, 2 jumps gets to the end of the number, so I need something with 1, 2 zeros. 100. The bottom is the same, 1, 2, 1, 2. And that's perfect because I need to multiply top and bottom by the exact same thing. 100 over 100 is basically 1. And we know if we multiply anything times 1 that it just stays the same. It's going to look a little different. Bounce, bounce. This becomes 780. Bounce, bounce. This becomes 60. Okay. So we went from $7.80 divided by 60 cents to 780 divided by 60. And really, again, it's the same. I keep saying $7.80. Well, instead of dollars, I just have pennies. 700 pennies. 80 pennies. 780 pennies divided by 60 pennies. Hopefully Miss Geronimo is not going to pay for her cookies with pennies. That would be rough. Okay, time to divide. 780 is our numerator, which means it is going to be our dividend. It goes on the inside. 60 becomes our divisor. Zoom, 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 zoom. I'm going to take a look at this. I'm going to ask, will 60 go into 7? No. No, that's not going to happen. Will 60 go into 78? That'll work. Now, it's only going in once, because if I try to go in twice, it's going to be way too big. 1 times 60 is 60. I'm not worried about anything else yet, just these two. 78 minus 60 should give me 18. Okay, that's less than 60, so far so good. Now this poor 0 felt left out earlier when I said we weren't worried about it, so it's going to come down and play. 180 divided by 60. Now I know we've got some bigger looking numbers, we've got these zeros. We could guess and check, but if you remember your multiplication facts, hopefully you're looking at the 18 and the 6 pieces. Oh, that's just my giant hand, that doesn't help. Hopefully you're looking at the 18 and the 6. Yeah, use paper, not like a giant finger. This is not super great. Hopefully, even with all that, you're looking at the 6 and the 18 and going, wait a minute. 3 times 6 is 18. So 3 times 60, 3 times 0 is nothing. 3 times 6 is the 18. Perfect. Subtract that out, we're good to go. So, once I remove the price of the pie, and then take the rest of the money that's left over and divide it by the price of each individual cookie, that'll tell me how many cookies she can buy. Ms. Geronimo can buy 13 cookies. And we'll go ahead and box that up. Although I feel weird not putting a period there, so we'll do that too. This is, I think, a fairly straightforward word problem. Take your time. Figure out what it's giving you to start with. How is that changing? What are we doing with whatever we're given? Are we taking part of it away? Are we adding more to it? Are we breaking it up into equal groups? Are we taking it and saying, I've got 5 of these, 10 of these? Use that to figure out your operation. Write number sentences and solve. As always, if you have any questions, please put them on a sticky note or write them down so we can discuss them in class. Otherwise, that is it for today. Thank you, everybody. Have a good one.